friend. I have a special guest here. I'm going to introduce you to him in a second. I want to make sure everything's good to go. It is good to go. If we haven't met yet, my name is Erin Chase, and this is the Dinner Made Easy show where we do dinner together on Thursdays, and we're making quesadillas again, except this time my second son, Charlie, is going to be making them. We are working through the chicken quesadillas lesson that is part of our WISKID kids cooking curriculum. If you've known me for longer than 2.5 years, 2 years, I guess, 2 years plus, you'll remember these from when the pandemic started. I needed something for the kids to do. You needed something for your kids to do. So I developed this. And now it was WISKID because they were all little. And now I maybe should call it like WIS-teen, because are we taller than me? Should we see? Okay. And he's the second one. The older one's also taller. I'm shrinking. By the day. Okay, so we are working through this. You can see this here on, let me put it up here, and then we'll get cooking. So how WISKID works, there, you should see a little button on the bottom of the video. How WISKID works is I teach my boys, and in the different lessons and the different recipes and the different videos, it's a different boy each time. And I'm going to teach Charlie right now how to make chicken quesadillas, and you'll learn, and your kids can learn as well. So this is just an example of how WISKID works. This is perfect to work through during the summer months when the schedules are a little lighter. My one disclaimer, I said this over and over and over, is parents, you might need to be watching your kids. I don't have to watch him so much. He's very proficient in the kitchen. He could do a lot, but I'm going to teach him like he doesn't maybe know all this already. And two, kids, do you remember what you were supposed to say to me if I get in the way? No. If parents, let your kids make a mess, let them do the work, and if a parent gets in the way, kids, you have permission to politely and respectfully tell your parents to let you do it. Because there's that tendency to just be like, I want to fix it, I want to show you how to do it. Obviously, if they need a hand, give them a hand. That's the idea, is to let them learn, and sometimes that involves mistakes. Okay? How about that? Kristen, your 3-year-old is almost as tall as you. Oh, goodness. Okay. It happens quick. You start shrinking very quickly when you get to the teenage stage of life. All right, here we go. Chicken quesadillas. I'm going to just do a little shiftaroo down so we can see the counter. So I have 2 baking sheets out. Okay, so Charlie's going to do this work. I'm going to talk him through it. If you're cooking along with us, just follow along. The recipe's in the book. And we're going to start with the tortillas. So I do have out baking mats that don't really need to be greased. If you need to grease a baking mat, you could do that now. We also need to preheat the oven. So could you go preheat the oven to 350? If you're working with a younger kiddo, you might need to make sure that they know they get it to the right temperature. Okay, so 350. Now I want you to set out, let's see if we can fit 3 tortillas flat onto each of those baking sheets. If they'll fit, we might have to it's going to be cozy. I think we're going to try and make that work. Okay. We're going to try and do that. So we're going to do 3 and 3. And I'm going to teach you, I did the skillet quesadilla method the other day. You can navigate to the videos and see the avocado black bean quesadillas that we did, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. That we cooked in the skillet. And I'm going to teach your kids and you how to do the baked version now. Because I actually think this is a little easier. Even younger kids could put these quesadillas together. Okay, so we have down our 6 tortillas. You could do however many you need, 2 and 2 if you need to do that. And next what we're going to do is mix up the chicken filling. So we need 2 cups of rotisserie or cooked and shredded chicken. Cooked and shredded chicken is something that I have around my house all the time. So, ooh, Laura, these would be great to make at the lake. Our neighbor, Laura, is there saying hi. Okay, so why don't you measure out 2 cups of shredded chicken, Charlie? I don't have this. I did not. So I already cooked and shredded some chicken. Rotisserie chicken would work. If you do if you're really saving money on groceries, you could do a whole chicken and cook it and shred it. So we're going to do 2 cups into this bowl, and then we are going to add in, once he's done with that, we will add in 1/3 cup of salsa. And this is essentially going to be like the chicken filling, if you will. So we need 1/3 cup of salsa, and then a packet or 2 tablespoons of taco seasoning. So I do a homemade taco seasoning. So we'll do 2 tablespoons. This is gonna be a quick lesson because heaping tablespoon is fine. Okay, now we want to mix that up. I'm going to grab one of those plastic spatulas and give that a good mix through. And then this is going to be essentially our, I guess filling is the right word. It's super simple. We're just working with this kind of seasoned and salsified chicken here. We're not going to do anything else. Last week we mixed up an avocado, lime juice, taco seasoning, black beans type of a filling. So if that's more interesting to you, you could go and check that out there. Okay, so now that the filling is ready, we just need to go into assembly mode, essentially. So we are going to now, why don't you slide that up here so we can get those a little closer to the camera, just so everybody can see. So now what I want you to do, Charlie, is a very thin layer of cheese. Then we're going to do chicken, and then another thin layer of cheese. We might end up using the rest of what's in that bag. And I have more. Actually, wait. Let's use this. I have a different cheese. Hang on. Let's use that if we need it. I forgot I have this one. We're going to switch cheeses. I had a cheddar out, but I forgot I had a pepper jack here. So this is actually, I think that I have a conflict with the right type of cheese. Okay, so I like, let me tell you what I mean. Let me see if I can show you this. So this is the thicker cut cheese, and I like the ooey gooiness of the thicker cut cheese versus the thinner cut cheese. I don't know if you can even see that. It's hard to see the difference. I guess you sort of can in my hand there. So I like this because it gets into the nooks and crannies inside of a quesadilla, but I also like this because it's just gooier. Okay, it doesn't matter. It's all going the same place. All right, let me answer a couple questions here while Charlie is putting that thin layer of cheese on there. Kristen's asking if you could make this with ground beef. Absolutely. What I would do is I would brown ground beef, and then I would mix in the same, I would do a pound of ground beef, brown it, and drain it if needed, and then mix in the same amount of salsa, 1/3 cup of salsa, and 1 packet or 2 tablespoons of taco seasoning. So that's what I would do for that. Wendy, can you freeze these? I personally am not a fan of freezing quesadillas after they have been made, or even at this point. What I would freeze is this. I would freeze this and call this like a quesadilla filling. Sometimes I call that like a meal starter. So you could mix up a couple batches of this and then freeze it into meal-sized portions. And then again, you can see this is super easy to do. You can also freeze tortillas in their package. That's what I pulled out this morning, was these tortillas that have been in the freezer. You can also freeze cheese just like this. So if you see things on sale, you want to buy in bulk, you can do that as well. Okay, Charlie, let's carry on. He's got the thin layer of cheese on these tortillas. Let's now do the layer of chicken. And so we can just divide that onto each, so yeah, give it a little dollop onto each one, or scoopful, I suppose is a better word, then dollop. That's a situation. Open that up. Something's burning on the bottom of the stove. Must have been from last night. So that's what, okay, Wendy, I'm glad that was helpful. Sorry. All right, so tortilla, thin layer of cheese, your filling, whatever it is, and then more cheese on top. Okay, and then you can use the back of a spoon or a spatula. You can even just use your hands, of course, make sure they're clean, and make that into as even of a layer as possible. You know, it might I see what it is. Okay. Just leave it open. It might be, sorry friends, you never know what's going to happen live. You know, there's going to be some of these larger pieces of chicken. You could tear them out and make them a little smaller, but you want them to be like even so that it doesn't, you don't want a lumpy quesadilla. I mean, maybe you do, whatever. Okay, also it is entirely possible that the fire smoke alarm is going to be going off in my house very shortly. I hope not because we have windows open, but we'll see. We'll see. We might be switching to the skillet mode. All right, so tortilla, thin layer of cheese, your filling. Let's do some of this cheddar. I said I like that gooiness. I know I'm not supposed to be doing this, but let's throw a little cheddar in there too so we get that thicker, gooier cheese, if you will. Charlie's going to finish that while I try and figure out what's happening here. Yeah, I'm sorry, Cody. All right. All right, here we are almost finishing up. All right, let me tell you now how to cook these. If you're just joining us, my now 15-year-old son, Charlie, is putting together the chicken quesadillas from our WisKid cooking lessons, and we are just now reaching the end. So the last step before we put these into the oven is going to be to put a tortilla on top, okay? So this is, we're using 12 tortillas in total. Of course, you could use more or less. And then we're used probably 2-ish cups of shredded cheese, and we'll fold one in half. We're short a tortilla. Do we have any more over here? Improvise. We're gonna have to improvise. The stove is literally on fire and we're short a tortilla. This is how we roll around here. Okay, so let's see how to cook these. Again, I reminded you that the video of how to cook these in the skillet is here on the page, so you can check that out. If you just go to the videos tab here on the $5 Dinners Facebook page, it's going to be a couple videos back. Now, for these in the oven, we have preheated to 350, and we are going to cook them for 10 minutes like this. And then you're going to take a spatula. Why don't you grab a spatula so we have it out? We're going to grab a spatula and we are going to very carefully flip them over. Sometimes I'll use 2 spatulas or something like this. Let me demonstrate. All right, so sometimes because these are full and they're wide and I don't want there to be like a ginormous mess, sometimes, and the cheese will have melted so they'll be a little sticky together, but I might do something like this to then flip it, okay? And do like a whoop-de-doo there. Like you would be flipping the giant pancake or something like that. So you do need to flip them so that both sides get a little crispy. So I would say 10 minutes and then another 5 minutes on the second side. And then that should be enough time for all that cheese to get all ooey gooey and that chicken inside to be warmed right up. Then when they're finished, what do we use to cut quesadillas? Do you remember?
A pizza cutter.
Ooh, yeah. Okay, why don't you grab it? So once they are done cooking, take them out of the oven, and I think it's in the other drawer. The easiest way to cut a quesadilla is with a pizza cutter. So why don't you just like pretend to cut this one? Let's pretend like it's, so we usually cut them into 6 triangles. So you would make 3 cuts across to form those 6 triangles, and then the triangles you can then dip them into sour cream or even more salsa, or just eat them as is. I usually just eat them like this. They don't need a dipper. I feel like, dippers are a good additional source of the pizza wheel is a toy for teenagers, I guess. There's tons of flavor in this with the salsa and the taco seasoning and that gooey cheese. But if you wanted to dip into like a sour cream or a salsa or a guacamole, that would work as well. But I just want to give you those tips of using something kind of wide like this. If you've got younger kiddos that are cooking this, you might need to help them with this. Another alternative would to have been folded these a bunch of halves like this one here, and you could do, you know, all around that way. The smaller ones are easier to fold. Okay, so that is what I wanted to show you guys today, and just talking Charlie through it so you get a sense of how the WizKid lessons work. We do have this amazing book. We have a digital version. We have the videos all hosted. They're set up in a way that your kids can do it. They're so easy to do. They're so fantastic. We have stickers so you can mark off the lessons and you can rate how the recipe went. Super fun. And then of course when you're finished we have a little certificate of completion. If your kids are interested in cooking, they've shown any interest in it, or you just want to teach them really important life skills, because, you know, I don't know, one of these guys is going off to college in like a year from now, and that's really amazing and happy and sad all at the same time. However, do you know how to cook? Do you know how to cook all these? You probably do, actually. I want them to have those great life skills. So it's both life skills and just a great place to start when learning how to cook. Can adults do this? 100% absolutely. I do have a link here in the pinned comment, as well as on the video. If you're catching this later or watching it on YouTube, you can click on the link wherever you see in the description below. Wendy, I'll reply to your comment here, but the recipe is on the, or the information is linked here on the video. Really fast recap before we go, because I always like to recap. Here's what we did. We're making chicken quesadillas from the WizKid Kids Cooking Curriculum. It is 12 tortillas, 11 because we missed a half. We have a half here. About 2 cups of shredded chicken. We added a 1/3 cup of salsa, a packet of taco seasoning, or 2 tablespoons of homemade taco seasoning. Mixed all that together. A thin layer of shredded cheese. This is a pepper jack. We also mixed in a little bit of cheddar. The layer of the chicken filling, more cheese on top, then the tortilla on top. We are going to bake these at 350 for 10 minutes. Then we're going to do a little flipperoo. They'll be a little bit melted together. You might want to press a little bit before you flip, and then cook another 5 or so minutes on the other side. So about 15 minutes in the oven. Super easy to do. I do have a skillet version of this. You're going to do a folded version just like this and cook in some oil or melted butter. You can cook those about 2 to 3 minutes on each side. The half version like that is a little bit easier to flip, so you can check that out. Kristen is asking if this would work for a 3.5-year-old. I would say yes. It's just going to require you to be very hands-on and making sure that they are doing all the things, mixing the things properly in the bowl. This one doesn't involve any cutting except for this last part when you're going to, you know, cut them up into the wedges. There are some of the recipes that call for cutting and also working with raw meat. So you definitely want to be hands-on with that, or giving them parts of the jobs or parts of the recipes that don't involve those things, and you can do those and they can do those. All right, that is what I got for you, my friends. That is it for this week's episode of the Dinner Mateys Show. Holler to Charlie, give him some hearts and some high fives. He did a fantastic job in putting all of this together. I wanted just to give you a sense of how all of this worked, so that you could see if it would be helpful for you and your family this summer. Check it out. The links are here on the video or underneath the video in the description. Next week, I will be sharing a little bit more about WizKid and other cooking things that we can be doing with our kids. That'll be the only show that we have next week, and then I'll be taking a couple days off for the July 4th holiday weekend. It's going to be a very long weekend for us. So I will see you next week on Tuesday for the Erin Chase Show. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.